Coming up on First at 4, lawmakers hear from the Justice Cabinet Secretary and Juvenile Justice Commissioner in Frankfort. And Russia has released an American citizen in a mass prisoner swap with Ukraine.
Plus, we go from a mid-November feel to a mid-December feel in one fell swoop. Latest on if it comes with snow chances coming up as First at 4 continues.
Mountain News First at 4 continues.
A recent riot at a Southern Kentucky juvenile detention center was the subject of a discussion in a state legislative panel today. Kentucky lawmakers heard from the Justice Cabinet Secretary and Juvenile Justice Commissioner. It comes a little more than a month after a violent incident in which a girl was raped and others were injured. WYMT's Phil Pendleton has more on what was said during the testimony.
Staff members and youth were heard. There was a report of a girl being sexually assaulted in that riot that took place. And now Kentucky lawmakers want to hear more about what happened and why, and if there are things that they could do, legislation to possibly be passed to prevent something like that from happening again.
So you're telling me that there were some low-level offenders in with murderers and rapists and these very serious offenders?
Yes, sir.
On what planet does that make any sense?
Senator Philip Wheeler and other lawmakers question why low-level offenders were housed with kids charged with more serious crimes in the Adair County facility where a riot broke out November 11th. The answer was the model put into play decades ago under the current juvenile justice model. But Justice Cabinet officials point to the governor moving to place females in their own facility and says other changes are on the way.
We're changing that. The governor has announced that what we're going to do is try to identify kids by the nature of what they're charged with.
Kentucky lawmakers will have their next session in about 19 days, next January, but there are questions on what they could do regarding money because next year is not a budget year. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
One Kentucky lawmaker suggested housing juveniles with adults in local jails again, but others say there are just too many legal issues that can arise with that. Paintsville Independent students were packed with produce today as part of the district's most recent efforts to give back. The school board voted to do something special for its families this season, paying for a gift that would be sustainable. Working with a local produce provider and a group of seniors anxious to serve, every student at the elementary school and the high school was sent home with a fruit bag today.
We know with the 2-week Christmas break coming up that a lot of times our kids may not have all the food that they need. So we are able to actually offer them fresh fruits during the Christmas break, and it is just so wonderful to be able to give back to our students.
Those involved say it was one small project that's part of a larger mission. Hear more about that coming up at 6. AAA predicts about 113 million Americans will journey 50 miles or more this holiday season. 1 out of every 3 Kentuckians is projected to travel from December 23rd through January 2nd. Reportedly, about 93% of those travelers will use their personal car. AAA expects the end of the 2022 holiday season to look more like it did pre-pandemic. While many are considering driving, AAA has a few tips to help with possible winter weather in the forecast.
Before you head out, make sure your vehicle, you're taking one that's been well maintained. Check those tires, check the tire pressure, check the tire tread. Make sure that your battery is good functioning. Batteries that are about 3 years, they start to be pretty iffy. It might be time for a replacement, so you want to get that checked before you head out. And of course, make sure that all your fluid levels are topped off.
AAA's biggest suggestion is that if you are planning to hit the road this holiday season, make sure to get an early start because traffic is expected to really ramp up after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Tax changes are coming to Kentucky on January 1st. The new law creates taxes for 35 different services, including parking and utilities. New taxes will also apply to body modification services like tattoos and piercings. Artists at To the Grave in Lexington worry the higher price tag might scare away customers and cut down on tips.
I know a lot of us around here, like, we rely heavily on our cash tips, just like anybody else, like servers and things like that. That's how we like get lunch and stuff, and you know, gas in the car each week kind of thing. So it's a little scary.
The new law is part of a broader strategy to cut the state income tax. We'll have much more about this in an investigative story tonight at 11.
Well, skies much bluer this afternoon compared to where we were 24 hours ago. Plenty of rain yesterday. The sunshine back out today. Here's the view from UVA Wise. Blue skies out there, just a few of those higher clouds trying to work on through. It's really a beautiful scene if we can get the rest of the frame loaded there. Thank you, Internet. There we go. Mid-40s outside at the moment. Mountain Parkway, it's Slade. Sun behind a cloud right now, but you can still see those clouds and blue sky in the background. Near 50 out there right now. Satellite and radar is a clean sweep for the most part around our region. In fact, plenty of sunshine. You see that big swirl up in the upper Midwest, though. That is that big low pressure still in place across the western Great Lakes. Low to mid-30s tonight. Gusty southwest winds at times as clouds do start to decrease. That'll keep us from, those breezes will keep us from getting too chilly tonight. But we still have some more chilly air on the way. Those details in a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Evan, thank you. The Department of Justice Special Counsel overseeing the criminal investigation of former President Donald Trump has issued subpoenas to officials in 7 battleground states, all states that were targeted by Trump and his allies as part of their bid to upend President Biden's victory. A spokesperson for Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, says Special Counsel Jack Smith most recently subpoenaed Allegheny County officials. Smith is looking for information related to any interference in the 2020 election. The other states where officials have been subpoenaed are Georgia, New Mexico, Nevada, Michigan, Arizona, and Wisconsin. Russia has released an American citizen in a mass prisoner swap with Ukraine. He was a U.S. Air Force veteran who lived in Ukraine and was detained by pro-Russian forces several months ago. CBS's Imtiaz Tyab is in Ukraine with the latest on the release.
A show of defiance as 64 Ukrainian soldiers were released in a prisoner swap with Russia. Among them, Suwaidi Murakezi.
My name is Suwaidi Murakezi, and I am well.
The American Air Force veteran who's lived in the southern Ukrainian city of Kherson since 2018. It was occupied by Russian forces at the start of the war, and he was taken into custody in early June before the city's liberation last month. Murakezi was reportedly accused by Moscow of taking part in pro-Ukrainian protests and was held in a cell with Americans and fellow veterans Alex Druki and Andy Wen before their release in September. There's been a sharp increase in prisoner exchanges between Russia and Ukraine in recent months, even as the Kremlin continues to target Ukrainian towns and cities, including the capital, Kyiv, where residents were showered with fragments of Iranian-made drones. All 13 of the explosive-laden Shahed 136s were shot out of the sky by Ukrainian air defenses. Alexei Danilov is the head of Ukraine's Security Council.
Russia has been using Iranian-made drones to target sites here.
The Russians are unable to defeat us on their own, he says. I would advise Iran to take that into account, because if they also start supplying Russia with missiles to attack us, they would be crossing a line.
A line Tehran appears willing to cross as Russia continues to exhaust its missile supplies. But with the Biden administration poised to announce it will provide Ukraine with Patriot air defense systems, well, that could be the real game changer in this grinding war. Imtiaz Tyab, CBS News, Troitske, Ukraine.
Coming up on First at 4, more than 200 Christmas-related injuries occur each day during the holidays. We'll have some tips on how you can stay safe when decorating.
Plus, cold air is heading our way as we head toward the weekend, and I'll have the details on whether or not we could see anything, that precipitation that comes with cold weather. I'll have that in a minute.